Okay, so
All right.
we will start. I'm going to share the screen and we're going to start with this really fun video. And you will tell me if, like Shriek, say, oh, stop, the music's not sounding good. Okay. I think those are really striking. I love these.
One's been machined over since then.
This is the one you took apart, right?
I'm taking it apart this morning, yeah, and I'm painting over some of the pages. Not those two. The yellowy colour ones and the pink ones I painted.
I love that one.
Yeah, with the hole. Yeah. As a fabric sample, I didn't I haven't put that pattern on. I've just painted over it.
I wondered about that.
Yeah. You see, it's a shirt sleeve. That's a bit of your tea towel.
Ah,
That's the edging undone. And that is,
it's amazing what you can do with scraps.
this whole thing is about scraps.
This makes me think of the Tibetan
Oh, like, yeah,
cylinders that
yeah,
they spin on
Yeah.
top of the mountain.
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Fantastic.
I think it's really fun.
Yeah, it is. It is such fun. It is such fun. So we need to start by saying that although I come from a textile background, so at college I did textiles, embroidery and printing and sorts of things. So that is there. But this in particular, we have to say thank you to Tansy Hagen.
Yeah.
I've done 2 of her textile courses. In fact, I've done 3. Those first things you saw after this first scroll, but the first, I think it was 6 square little, actually they're scenes from my garden. That was from the first course. And then I just finished one called Thrifty Textiles, and the second lot of things were from there really. So let me say that what I learned mainly from her was that actually you can paint fabric with acrylic paint, which of course I should have known anyway, and we paint canvas, don't we? So why shouldn't we paint other things? But the idea is you get old clothes, mainly cotton, silk and things, linen, and you take it apart. So you sit for hours with an unpicker thinking, what am I doing? Unpicking this edge of a tea towel that some lovely person dyed beautifully, but it had seen better days. It'd been used so much. So sit and unpick, and you get left with these lovely shapes and holes and where the stitching has been, and buttonholes and things. So you get lovely shapes, and quite often things like shirts have got checker patterns on, check printed or woven patterns. And when you paint with the acrylic paint, as long as you don't do it too thick, then some of the original pattern shows through. And different fabrics accept paint in different ways. So you just get marvelous mixtures of paint. And you can do things like monoprinting, folding, putting paint down and then folding a piece of fabric over, or putting another piece of fabric on top and drawing, or rolling a rolling thing. I don't know what it would be called, to make shapes and things. So you get all sorts of things. And you can stitch in it before you paint it, after you paint it, and then you can cut it and apply it together. So shall we look at some of the slides, and I'll just quickly show you what each of them is. But it is just such fun.
Okay.
Right, so that's one of the finished. These I think there's 6 of them. These are all finished pieces, and they're about 8 inches square. And they're from the first course. They were inspired by the first course that Tansy did. So take that one that's in front of us. You can see that curve shape. That's an armhole.
This.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So it's all fabrics that have been disassembled, let's say, and then painted. And then you can see that there is some writing. Can you see on the left-hand side?
Yes. Well, there's writing down here
and
too.
down there. Yeah.
And here.
Yeah. So you can write you can paint, you can write with Posca pen or something of that sort. Those and then the pieces of fabric have been attached to a backing. So the large sort of what seemed to be background have been attached with the sort of iron-on sticky stuff that quilters use, and patchwork, people that do patchwork and quilting. It's sticky. Well, it's not sticky, but it's got a surface and a backing, and you put the surface that hasn't got a backing down on the fabric, and you iron it, and then you take off the paper.
So that's how these upper green ones were stuck on also?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you iron again in order. So really you've got a glue. You've got a paper backed glue that you stick on one side, and then take the paper off and put down your other piece and stick it. So it's glued basically. So yes, they would have been glued down and then machine stitched. But if you look down at the bottom, can you see this sort of long pieces? Can you see this sort of bluish?
These.
Yes. Now that is what is called reverse applique. So that's quite a largish piece of fabric laid down and machined over, and then taken from under the machine and cut into that shape around the stitching.
So that it doesn't get bent around while stitching.
Yeah, it just lays flat.
Yeah.
Further on, I can show you some more reverse applique that will be easier to explain.
Okay.
So those strips of fabric there have all been put on with reverse applique, and then lots of free embroidery, machine embroidery, lots of lines of machine embroidery, because basically you want to attach all your bits of fabric, because although they've been glued with this stuff, it's not, completely secure. And also that becomes part of your design. I don't think there's any hand stitching on that one. I think that's more or less all machine stitching. Go back to the previous slide, please. No.
That's you mean the very first one, this one?
Yeah, that one. Yes. On the yellow, you can see that those lumps of stitching. That's all hand stitching.
Okay. But
Okay.
this is all machine stitching, yes?
Yes.
And
Yes.
this, what about this?
That's drawn on with a white Posca pen.
Oh, huh, because that, oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I do have a question about the
Yeah.
other slide
Yeah.
here. This
Yeah.
area,
Yeah. That's
this,
2 pieces. In
two or
fact, it's
three?
three, it's 3 pieces. Yeah, there's the on the left-hand side there, yeah, that's painted fabric with the white and purple, and that is just painted with acrylic. And then there's a yellow piece. Oh, yeah, there actually is one, two, and then there's a thin piece that was painted with all these bright colors. And then yeah, that's another bit inserted, and the bit above. So 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 5 pieces in
Wow.
there. So they fit together like a jigsaw, because if you've got yourself a sticky surface.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so you've got a square, let's say an 8-inch square of a bit of old pillowcase, and to that you've ironed on this sticky stuff that sticks to the pillowcase. Then you peel off the paper so that you have a potentially sticky surface in front of you that isn't sticky, because it won't be sticky until it gets hot. And you piece together all your main pieces to cover the whole thing, and then you iron it.
These green ones, they were a second sticky application,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
Or I might have just attached them with the machining. I can't really remember.
I love this, the painted on effect of this green.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you just couldn't make
Well, no,
these
no.
without.
I mean, this is the joy of it, that you get these effects on the different fabrics, take the paint in different ways, and then because you're sloshing around different colors, and as I say, folding it over and going with the back of the end of a paintbrush or something to make a line, as in monoprinting, you get effects that are just chance, really, that you couldn't plan. It's funny that piece with the red and the yellow that you just sort of, yes, that bit.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, I've got that here. Look, I was looking at. Can you see that?
Yes. Uh-huh.
That's a bit of that same one, because I've got this whole big pile of painted fabrics, and today I've been making some little things which I'll show you later, and I came across that, and it's a darker part of that same piece, and it's actually striped fabric. I don't know where to hold it for you to see. Can you see that
Yes.
it's striped?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
adore these. And quite honestly, I don't often see things where or my brain doesn't work in terms of turning art into products. I mean, it really doesn't. But when I see this, and I'm not a big entertainer, I don't know how to do those sorts of things. I see this, and even more than wanting to have a coaster, which I use coasters a lot. So, but I want this as a cocktail napkin.
Oh, right. Okay.
That, then of course, be small and be folded into 4. It'd be so different on each of its sides. But I just think the cocktail napkins, for the most part, are so boring. And you're at this festive occasion where people are having yummy little appetizers and wine or something, and then to have a fabulous cocktail napkin like this, so much fun.
Yeah. On paper, a paper one.
Yes,
on paper. Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I feel like I'm one of my collectors who apologizes for hanging my paintings in their bathroom. because they want to see them all the time. But that's
Yeah.
like, I feel terrible saying, I want this as a cocktail napkin.
Yeah, no, no.
But I
Let's
do.
do it. If we can find somewhere. Yeah,
Wouldn't
definitely.
that be fun though? And for the
Yeah.
next, actually, there are more. I've turned more into squares for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Yeah, these are all square.
7. Okay, so I think that in my mind there are definitely 7 more that I think are a cocktail napkin possible, which may have all come from that first session with Tansy.
Yes, yes, they do.
On to the next one. So this
Now
one,
that's an homage to fritillary.
ah, of course,
You
these.
see? Yeah,
And
and
here,
and the
I,
word
yeah.
is there.
Oh, fabulous.
Because it was in the springtime, and I was in that little room that I work in, looking out on my garden. That
Yeah.
was the inspiration.
So in the recording, the edited recording of this, I'll have to pop in one of the paintings of the fritillary.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's great.
Flashes of rhododendrons. Oh, yeah, that was later on. That was looking up the garden, and on my neighbour's side, Jackie's side, there's lots of bits of rhododendrons and things. So there's loads of reverse applique on that. You see all those round shapes that are stitched down?
Yes, these and
Yeah.
these.
So put a lump of fabric and machine round around, and then cut off the surplus fabric. And it's called reverse applique.
So Nicole and I are going to have a weekend of
I've got
making.
copyright on these, by the way.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. Well, both Klimt and Ferguson would be very happy about this.
They're pretty mad, aren't they?
Oh, they're delightful.
And the writing was done on the pieces of fabric before they were stitched down. I remember doing the writing.
And these
So
are on separate pieces of fabric. These were not, these have not been put into a fabric sketchbook or anything.
No, they're separate. I might well stick them into this book when I put it back together. So I've got everything in the one place, I think.
Well, some of them might also be wonderful in shadow boxes.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody that sees them says, "Oh, you ought to frame those," but I've just got them sat in an ordinary, slipped into a sketchbook because I haven't got any more room.
Right. No. And I totally get that too. That's why cocktail napkins.
I like the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, of a
I mean,
napkin.
this one would be great. This one would be great. Different seasonal parties and
Yeah.
yeah. And this is urban.
Blackbird song. Blackbird song.
Hmm.
The fascination is the shapes of the clothing, where it's been unpicked and ironed flat and then painted, or painted and then ironed. I've got a special ironing board, an old ironing board and an old iron, that I use for all of this sort of stuff.
This is also your garden.
Yes.
Had you just come back from someplace? Because it really does, it has such an urban feel to me. Like the windows, the buildings, the park or something. But it's like being in your garden after you returned from Bristol or London.
Yeah, because of all the strong sort of vertical upright.
And all these little squarey kinds of windowy
I don't know
things
why I did those, and blocks
here.
Responding to the shapes on the fabrics after they'd been printed and
Now,
painted.
this is a fascinating one to me. And what about this?
Crows, tap, tap, tap. That's all the sounds of the birds, isn't it? I think it's just the
Wind,
garden
thrush.
game. It's just garden.
Did you write the words for this one, or you wrote them on the fabric and then took the fabric and
And I took the fabric. I just felt it.
okay.
It's all very intuitive, all of this, you know.
Yeah. This is a fascinating one.
Yeah, yeah,
That's like a storm at sea.
yeah, yeah.
Ha, love it.
Daffodils. In case you're in any doubt, I've written the words.
But now, okay, so I mean, this one applies certainly to this, whereas I wasn't sure if this was a response to what you were working on. But the fritillary, certainly the words go with what your image is.
Yes, yes.
And this goes with what your image is. So in terms of, it's really hard to know when you see the finished product um what stage
The
certain
process
things were done
was.
in.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know that I wrote many notes.
But do you think that the yellow
Yeah.
daffodil words
I,
were written
I,
after you did this?
yes, I think they were in that, for that one. I think I wrote daffodils after I did it. There were definitely daffodils in the garden. There were still bits of, you know, a fritillary hanging around.
Good. That's what I figured. This must be fritillary.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, and
And I
this,
go mad with the machine. Yeah. And that's just patterns, isn't it? And the
yeah,
grasses, things.
these are
It's a
just,
way of drawing, isn't it?
yes.
It's a way of drawing with a machine. I mean, I have to say, years ago, I used to do, when the kids were little and I was at home and not teaching, I did a great deal of machine embroidery. When I was at college, I did. How I didn't ever machine my finger, I don't know. That was the only time that I used to sell work. I did used to sell machine embroideries. I've done a lot. And I love it. And I forget about it for years and years. And Tansy brought it back. And
So
I just love drawing with a machine.
you must have samples of that still.
Yes, yes, I
So
probably.
I would really love to see some of that too.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah.
adore what this has reawakened in you. And
Yes.
these are very, I mean, your current paintings and these just are walk hand in hand, I think.
Mm.
They're fabulous.
Mm. It's just a way of working with collage, only it's fabric collage. But I think what has been the eye opener is the painting the fabric, because it just is amazing how the different fabrics accept the paint in different ways, and the number of different things you can do. I mean, that background is quite a checky, it's a very fine, not check, but a woven
This,
texture. Yes, you can
yes.
see it coming through.
And then the other thing I like, which is just so much fun, is that you can punch holes in it, which really
Yeah,
does great things. You can cut slices through it, which allow
yeah,
parts to come through from the background. So you
yeah. I
really,
mean, that is not that where you just pointed, that's those shapes are put on top.
right.
That's what's called reverse applique,
But
really.
it could
That
be
you
that
could
this
do
is
like
one,
Indian, you know, like cutting holes
right.
for glass,
Yeah.
for mirror glass. Yeah, yeah.
And the potential is there
I
for
love
that.
it. I just love it. Yeah.
And
Let's see
these,
what's next, because we'll be here
okay. Okay.
long a
This one I
while.
love too.
Right, now this is one of the more recent ones. These are smaller, these are 6 inches, and this series now. That's the only one that had machining on it up until this weekend. And that is looking up at sunrise at the top of my garden,
Now,
based on a sketch.
is this a shadow from the photograph? See this
Yes.
horizontal?
Yes.
So it's really, this is,
No, I tell you what it is. It's a fold, because I didn't like the composition and I folded it up,
okay.
changed the composition. So if you put your hand across where that line is,
Or,
yes, because I felt that it's the path going up, it's the steps going up my garden, with sort of greenery on one side and grass on the other. But I felt in that I felt there was too much green, so I folded it, but I didn't cut it off because I wasn't sure.
yeah, I personally, I like the composition of this better
Yeah, yeah.
because you're led up,
Yeah.
you're led up to it. And these for me are, your sculptures.
Yeah, they're actually the light through the trees, but they could be the stones. Yes. Yeah.
And when it's this, these feel very heavy then, like there's a pushing down
Yeah.
of this.
Yeah. I mean, I don't feel it's finished, but I sort of left it.
Yeah.
And the next few,
Okay.
well, it's really funny actually, because no, there are some more. No. Go down to 14. Right. That's just the first stage of ironing fabric onto the backing, the first part of the jigsaw. Okay.
Okay. And this too.
And that, but if you go back, no, go back.
Okay. To how far
One
back?
before, no, just 14. Right, that, because I left them because I just didn't like them. And that one this weekend, because I had the sewing machine out, I thought I've got to do something with this. So I went completely mad and I've sort of obliterated it. I don't know. Can you see? I can't see.
Yes. Okay, wait a second. Let me stop sharing. Okay,
And
now hold it up.
there's no way this is, and it's going to stay like this, but I don't know whether you can see, but
Yes.
these, in true tansy style, you don't cut off your loose threads and throw them away. You put them in a little container and then you pick them up and you put them down and you machine them on. So this is just waste thread. Yeah.
That you've machined over to hold it on?
Yes.
Wow. Okay, I'll need to have some close-up photographs of that.
Okay.
Because
and this, I just did a little bit of reverse applique on there. I don't know what I'm doing with this, but anyway, I just wanted to let you know that something was happening with, and the grey, can you see the stitching?
Yes.
It's sort of like ploughed field. I did wonder whether there's going to be a sort of a future in this somehow, but I might just cut this up completely. I think I might just cut it up and just do something else completely different with it.
Use it for a fragment in something else.
Yeah. And try and be a bit brave and say, right, okay, what can happen with that? But doesn't that just look like a rose?
It does.
And that is just a whole bunch of waste thread held down with stitching.
Okay, I can see that in the blue below, but that's where you need to send a photo, because it would be really nice to get that texture.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Go back to the slideshow. Because
Okay.
most of it we can just zip through because we're going to be too late otherwise.
Okay.
Right. So these are taken from drawings that I did down in St. Ives when I was there in July. So they're just a sort of a starting point.
I like this one a lot.
Yeah, that was the sunrise from, on the sea. And that bit in the middle is one painted piece. That's how the fabric was painted. And can you see the crisscrossy lines?
Yes.
That's monoprinting.
Yeah.
Well, and and the red dots are, the red circle ovals are as well.
There's something about that one that really captures my spirit.
Yeah. Not keen on that one, but I like those marks in the sky. I like that.
I
Anyway,
think
we'll see.
this has a lot of potential.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Yeah. Now, that's that one that we were just looking at that has changed. And it was just in a pile on top of the textile book. And I just put a frame around it. And I thought, well, that's actually quite a fun sort of picture. Piles of textiles, basically.
Now, that one, I don't see which one that was.
Well, it must be that one with the sun in it.
This one.
Yeah, and it must have
Oh,
two. It must have one on top.
okay, right. Because this does look, the color here and the color here looks the same.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
I think it's a pile of textiles, This is the book, which is no more.
And what didn't you like about this? Here,
Right.
I'll
Well,
go
if you
down
go
through these.
you see the right-hand page.
Yes.
I thought I was being really clever. I thought, well, I won't just have cream pages or white pages. I'll have some different colored grounds. But that color is impossible to put anything on to make it look anything. So I've taken it apart and I've taken out the pink pages and those yellow pages. I've left those. That's your tea towel on the left-hand side.
Okay.
And on the right-hand side, that's another tea towel that is really, you can see it's seen better days, and that's been painted with white acrylic. And your tea towel has been painted a sort of a beigey, darker beige. And the that greeny color, that is a pillowcase that's been, with one of those with the edging around it.
Yes. Is that the color that you said you couldn't do anything with?
No, that color is okay. And I have done something with that page today. It's that color on the right.
This one?
Yeah. It looks, everything looks awful on it.
Really?
It's gone. It's gone. It's
Okay.
gone. I'm going to have two. All right. Okay. Right. This is reverse applique and then machining on top. Those red bits, if you can imagine a lump of fabric, yes, that you're pointing at, put down a square of fabric, almost covering that background, and you machine shapes onto it, yeah? Take it away from the sewing machine and then cut around the edge.
So did you stitch around you stitched these?
Yeah, all three
before cutting it?
Yes.
Okay.
So there's a certain randomness about that as well. And then that's just machining on top. So
and
with all of
cut
it,
away, right?
yeah. I mean, with all of it, it's not quite automatic, but it's, there's so much chance. I mean, look at the holes where the fabric has been disassembled, and then the paints behave in strange ways, and then you machine on top, and you don't really know what you're going to get, and then
Or how you're going to use it.
Or how you're going to use it. Yeah. Okay, now that's a fabric sample. If you're choosing upholstery, curtain fabric or something, you can get little samples. But it's pretty heavily painted on top.
Good
and you
use
can
for
see it
those
cut through.
samples, the sample books you
Now that's the before and after, and that is Chris's tunic that I cut a bit off the bottom for her. I'm always cutting bits off, and they think it just gets thrown away, but it doesn't. It gets put in the pile of fabrics to paint. So that was it before it was painted on the right-hand side. And I just love what happened to it when it was painted.
Yeah. Wow.
And there's some printing on it as well, mono printing. So there would have been, and that is just pure mono printing. That's a pillowcase again. And that
Yes,
is
I love the
literally,
texture. Love it.
yeah, I've got this sort of roly thing. I don't know what it would be used for. But yeah, I just literally put something on top, or it on top of some jade colored paint on fabric, and just pressed onto it with this roly thing, and that's what came out. Yeah. And that is a scarf. It's a nice long scarf, and I wasn't wearing it, so I've torn it up and it's been painted. But I've used it quite a lot. And there it is again. And there it is again. Again, mono printing. And that's the book with the
I
worn
love
out.
that whole,
Yeah.
this whole composition I love.
Well, that pink is gone. Okay, so that's another bit of that. Oh, is it that scarf? I don't know, but that's a whole lot of machine stitching done before it was painted.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it
So
looks like some other pieces were also
stitched on. Yes.
Yeah.
And then it was painted. So you can do what you can work on the fabric. You can undo. You can disassemble the fabric. You can stitch. You can fold. You can, quilt. You can do whatever you like, and then paint it, or you can paint it and then stitch it. So the world is
There's
your
no
oyster.
end.
Yeah.
It does look like that same scarf.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. It's a very useful scarf. That's a bit of painted fabric.
And you said this was
sample.
printed on it.
Yeah, those big shapes, but
See.
there is some mono printing on top where I folded it over and drawn with something sharp. That's just a white piece of dress fabric, dress shirt, blouse, something or other.
With the armhole here.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a different stripe. That's a much thicker fabric, but that's been very useful.
I even like just the shapes that cut up.
The shapes that are left.
This. I like the weave here. Oh, those are separate pieces stitched on.
Yeah, they were stitched on.
Oh,
Yeah. And that's hand stitching.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a whole lot of stitching done before it was painted. And that's a check shirt with rather a lot of colors on it.
This looks like maybe the part that ended up fitting into the armhole.
Yes, I think it maybe did. Yes. Yes.
And that's fun.
That's my mother's little serviette thing. See what a treasure trove of things.
Yes.
And you see at the top, that's been painted and punched. That's where I practice punching for the holes for the book, because I couldn't stitch through all those layers.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of pages. That's that reverse applique again.
And that one. Love that.
Yeah. That's the border around your tea towel.
Oh.
And that's to show you that hasn't been done yet. That's the bottom of a pair of Sue's pajamas, I think, but I've got to unstitch that and paint it.
More tea towel, I think.
More tea towel, and that's what I would call mono printing. More scarf.
You got a lot of mileage out of that scarf. And
Yeah,
this
there's a
looks
load
like
more.
shibori stitching.
Yeah, this is, you know, rooking it up first, like sort of smocking,
Mhm.
and then painting it. And then
Yeah.
the idea is you undo it and see what you get. So, you know, sort of tie-dye type of thing, you know.
Yes.
So
With
they're the two, they're these two
strips. Yes, the one I put in
strips.
the beginning of the slideshow
Yeah.
and the one at the end.
Yeah. And that is just taking all sorts of bits and the same process as the square pieces. So you make your length of fabric sticky and then just piece together just what you fancy, really.
I do think these are fun. They're just so much fun.
Yeah. And that's got machine stitching and hand stitching on it.
Yeah. And
that's that the other roll, whichever one. That's that one, I think. So you can see where the hand stitching is and the machine stitching. They're printed, those blue blobs.
so I think seeing these unroll mean a lot more after going through and learning the different kinds of techniques
Different
that
techniques, yeah. And you can recognize some of the fabrics you've seen, can't you?
Mhm.
There's a couple of holes there that were printed. So there's hardly any time left, but just let me show you quickly what I've been doing this week, shall I?
Yes.
If you don't mind, because you got me onto doing this. So it's not a finished thing, but there's a little
Wonderful.
sort of that's onto a piece of just a piece of fabric. So I did that one, and that's just machined. And this one, which won't stay like this may become something. Well, I'll tell you the different things. These were
Oh,
all hand stitching. Can you see? And I
yes.
have to say, I mean, I'm not pleased with the finished result, but it is hours of work because there are layers and layers of painted fabric, and it's really tough to stitch. But can you see it's this? It's
Yes.
like
This
Japanese
is
stitching. And
really
I've got two.
bringing your painting together.
I've got two thoughts about it. I don't think it stands as it is. So it could become. I thought it could get a base and become a vessel. It could become a vessel. All right, could stand up as a vessel. Or I think what I will do is probably just cut it into little pieces and have little thumbnails of different bits of it. I don't know. Or strips, or I don't like it as it is.
What don't you like about it?
I don't know. Probably the colors. So they wouldn't really change, would they? I'll send you a photo and you can tell me what you
Okay.
think. And then I did these tiny little
Yeah, those are gems.
and put them onto this stiff, this is fabric, painted fabric, and I've punched a hole because it's going to be a tag for a gift. And I made 4 and I've used 2. And so yesterday I thought I'm going to make a load more while I've got my sewing machine out. So I made lots and lots and lots yesterday,
Oh,
9 of them. They're little fragments. And I placed them down on a piece of paper. And I thought these look so sweet, just all in a row. They almost look like pictures in a gallery. So I thought, no, I'm not going to make them into tags. I'm going to put them in my textile book. So I've got a page of the textile book.
ah, ah, lovely.
And here they are. Can you see them at all?
Yes, absolutely. But also send me a photo of the page.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are delightful.
They're
And
just
maybe,
little, they're fragments. They're tiny. They're really, really tiny, but they are really cute.
what if you cut the thing you don't like up and do the same thing with it?
That's what I thought I might do. Cut them into little and make another page
Yes, that could work really well. Those are wonderful.
because they look so sweet, don't they?
Yes.
Each one of them is like a little, I don't know. They're all they've got they're on the white, but they're on a piece of grey or blue, and then there's at least 2 and very often 3 and sometimes 4 fabrics, little tiny weeny bits of fabric piled up, and then I've put them under the machine, and I've done a spiral on each of them, and it's all wibbly wobbly, but that's what I like. Yeah,
I think they're divine.
so that's going to be a page in the book. You can see the holes, you see.
Um, so that's the size of the book you took apart?
Yeah.
Wow, I thought it was a lot smaller. Interesting.
Yeah. I
Okay.
did it big enough that I could put those first embroideries in it. And that's what I might do with them.
Oh,
Just stick them in. So the whole fabric book would be full of fabric samples and bits and pieces. Yeah.
very nice. Now,
So that's it.
I know you took it apart already, which is perfectly fine. That color that you didn't like,
Mm-hmm.
if you took, if you cut apart the one that you're talking about cutting apart and you
Mm-hmm.
put them on little white pieces of paper, just like you did with the others, and put that
Mm-hmm.
on top of that, wouldn't those colors work?
No, I don't think it would. It's a really yucky color, the other one. I think these would work. I don't know what it would work on. It might even work. I don't know whether it would work on the.
Oh, it definitely works beautifully on the gray.
See, I've got several of these
Yeah.
pages.
Yeah. That would be better. I was thinking
So
that there was more of that tone in
yeah,
that, but you're
I've
right.
I've got a
It's not.
little thing here. Where is it? Oh yeah, this is from a tea bag thing. I've been playing with, finding little compositions. I think there's potentially some quite nice little
Yeah.
compositions. But there's hours of work in that.
Now, when you
That's
cut it
that's
apart,
why.
because that's hand stitching, when you cut that apart, some of those loops are going to just be loose, right?
Yes, yes,
Which,
yes. I'm not going to worry about it.
good.
Wabi sabi, isn't that the expression? The
Yes.
perfection of imperfection.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is all very wabi sabi. I love that one.
Gorgeous colors
Tiny
too.
it is, though. Look how small it is.
Yeah.
Okay, I've kept you longer than I should.
That's fine. We started a little bit later. That was delightful.
Okay, so
Thank you
so
very
that's
much.
textile sketchbooks
Yeah.
or textile sketching. Yeah.
Yeah. Tansy would be very pleased.
Yeah, I hope so. So the latest course was Thrifty Textiles, and the first one, I'd have to look it up, what her first one was.
Yeah.
Really
Okay.
lovely.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Take care.
Take care too. Bye-bye.